If you're currently in career transition or you're looking for a new job, my guess you've been doing some research on the internet about, oh, maybe the best way is to create the resume or designing a LinkedIn profile or answering specific interview questions. And I'm sure that as you've been doing your research, you've come across pages that talk about the importance of having an elevator pitch. Because we all know networking is key to getting that next job out there. So, going to network, you need an elevator pitch. And they talk about the reason for an elevator pitch, or the way it came about, is that if you were to go into an elevator and when the doors closed and somebody was to introduce themselves and say, so what is it that you do? You can go ahead and talk about what you do by the time those elevator doors open again. I mean, quite frankly, the vision of that happening, I would be climbing the walls of an elevator if somebody was talking to me at that length. And something that I think was, kind of funny out there is when I started thinking about doing this video, I went out and I looked at other videos that people had done, career coaches, on the elevator pitch. And I think the shortest career video I found out there was maybe about 6 minutes long. Some of them were 8 minutes, 12 minutes. I saw one for 15 minutes. Guys, my name is Bill Benoist. I'm a certified professional career coach in Silicon Valley. And I got to tell you, you do not need a 15-minute video to talk about the elevator pitch. In fact, when I'm talking with my clients about an elevator pitch, I really don't even use the word elevator pitch. What I like to use is the word a lean-in statement, or a lean-in. So in other words, what you want to do when somebody comes up and asks you what you do for a living, you want to say something that is really only one or two sentences, and you want to see if you get this little body movement of a lean in. It means that they're interested in hearing more about what it is that you have to say. Because if they're not leaning in, and God forbid they're leaning a little bit out, you really don't have their attention. So imagine for a moment that you are at an event, and it could be a networking event, but it could also be a meetup group. It could be your friend's wedding. It could be a church activity, many different things. And somebody that you don't know, they come up and they introduce themselves and they say, so what is it that you do? And this is your opportunity to network with the individual and really establish that first relationship with them, right? And this, by the way, will work for entrepreneurs very well. What you want to do is you want to essentially respond as to what it is that you're doing, and I want you to add a value-added statement to it. So, something that will be attention grabbing. So for example, your name is Samantha, and I come up to you and I say, hi, my name is Bill. Samantha, right? What is it that you do, Samantha? And you come back to me and you say, well, Bill, I used to be a chiropractor. I used to fix broken bones. Today I'm actually a software developer and I fix broken code. Really? Really? That sounds interesting. There's your key to go on. But if I sat there and said, oh, that's kind of neat. How'd you drink? You probably don't have my attention. It's something like this. I'll give you another couple of examples. So Joshua, what is it that you do? Well, Bill, I work in the medical device industry. I enjoy making a positive difference in the lives of others. Really? How do you do that? What is it that you do? So, Sarah, what is it that you do for a living? I'm a real estate agent. I like to say that I help people make their dreams come true. Really? Now, here's the thing. Here's the key to this. Once you have their attention and they've leaned in a little bit, I want you to continue on with a story, okay? A short story. So all this is going to take you a little bit of preparation, right? You have to have a little bit of preparation there. I want you to plan this out. But let me give you an example. So Bill, what is it that you do for a living? Well, John, I am a career coach. I primarily work with people in mid to late careers. I like to say I help them find jobs that fuel their passion rather than zapping it. Really? Yeah, like for example, this one time, I worked with this gentleman, 72 years old, right? His claim to fame was he was the person that wrote the IEEE standards for the set box cable TV. I mean, talk about archaic. 72 years old, and he's writing the IEEE standards for technology that hasn't been used anymore. But you know what? I was actually able to help him land with a company because even though we don't use this technology here in the States anymore, there's a couple of third world countries out there that do it. You see what I'm saying? A story can really grab their attention, and this is what you want to do. You want to start developing these relationships. So think of it this way. Your elevator pitch, which I don't want you to ever use that term again, your lean-in statement, that's not something that you're going to be using when you go into an interview and that hiring manager says, so tell me a little bit about yourself. You know what? I have an entire video on that subject right there, that interview question. And with that interview question, we're talking about who you are in the present sense with a value-added statement, the environments and companies that you've worked for, and what are your strengths, what is it that you're going to bring to the table. A little bit different than the lean-in statement. The lean-in statement is for networking. When you're at an event and somebody is coming up to you and says, so Bill, what is it that you do? This is your opportunity to start that relationship there. So, promised you that this was going to be a short video. I hope you found it informative and useful. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell notification as I do upload new career tips and strategies every Tuesday, and I'd hate for you to miss anything. Thanks for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you next week.